And it's episode 131.
Yay! 131. We missed last week because we were off being edumacated.
Yes. We were at the last official Nahu Spring Symposium.
That was Wahoo.
Wahoo, you're right. That's the state one. They're yet to update to the NIBIP or whatever they want to call it.
NIBIP?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. They got this new acronym that is just horrible. Obviously, they did not ask the people who would be using it.
Well, no, they did shop it around, and I was on one of the teams that said no.
Because everybody I've spoken to has gone no, so obviously they didn't listen.
Yeah, they it's like, oh yeah, it's a new thing. Here, it's poo.
If the name's poo, the organization is not. Well, depends on who you ask, but it's a lobbying group, so there's always going to be naysayers.
Yeah, we're going to get into some capitalism today.
Is that our goal? Is that our topic today? Is capitalism?
Goal. Well, we're in this supernova business expansion contest,
which is freaking awesome. Ooh.
It is. It's really challenging us, and it was really thought provoking.
Provoking.
And well, provoking.
Provoking.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead. So yes, this business challenge is definitely thought provoking. It's made us think in a lot of different ways about a lot of different things, which is pretty flippin' awesome.
Now we are around here are practitioners of a real inclusive version of capitalism.
We do our darndest to be inclusive.
And we talk about things like equity, because that's who we are. We want people who participate to have a share of the system.
Right.
It's very piratey.
Yeah, and to be fair, we've always felt this way. I mean, we didn't always have words for it, but when we first started Lothies 10 years ago, we want everybody who comes in our office to be treated with respect and dignity. That was how that was our start, and it's just kind of rounded out since then.
Yeah, and now we're getting into the mechanics of things, and they challenged us to look at some of the demographics that's for our industry,
right?
And this we pulled from. We just happened to stumble across it. Data USA. Men as insurance agents make 56% more on average than women doing the same job with an average annual salary of $98,554 compared to their counterparts, which make on average of $55,016.
So here's a question. Now they say, go back to the article.
It's not.
I want to see the phrase. Okay, blah 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 blah. Okay, so what we're looking at is doing the same job. Not necessarily, because a lot of the women doing this job aren't actually licensed agents.
No. To be a insurance agent, you must be licensed.
No, I understand. I know that. But what I'm saying is the paragraph that gave us the statistics implied that the women doing the job, doing the work, might have been customer service folk.
No.
Okay.
It doesn't read that way. It's because it's different between saying insurance agents versus CSRs.
Well,
this is just straight.
Well, because there's no salary in what we do.
No. However, there are such things as like lines of business.
That's true.
And this is something that our state helps perpetuate.
Yes. Insurance agents make 50% more on average than the women doing the same job with the average annual salary.
Now, I will give a classic example. Property and casualty versus life and health.
Okay.
The health is dominated by women.
Yes, always has been.
And it's paid less.
Yes, we have to work more for what we get.
And it's usually paid on a per person monthly basis. Or if you're doing Medicare, it's one lump sum.
Yeah. And it's not my best commission is $25 per person per month. So that's, do math. Okay, so $25 times 12. So that's a $300 commission per year. It's not a lot of money.
Well,
when you think of it that way.
The property, on the other hand, is usually paid on a percentage basis.
Yes.
So that if you are targeting where you market, so that you're doing, the homes that are, 600,000, which is not a stretch these days.
No.
What is 8.5% of? Oh wait, because you can't really drive premium that way. It is a considerable difference.
Yeah, well, it's percentage.
I know where I can find the example. If you look at the submissions in the foundation of the Office of the Insurance Commissioner for health insurance, the insurance companies have to list the commission rates, and usually they list them out as less than 1%.
For health?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Versus, minimal commission for properties, usually 8%.
Yeah. Yeah, 8% of $1 million policy is $80,000.
That's
$8,000.
Yeah. So it's a huge difference. But that's a good example of the inequity that's built in the system. So
does that mean that fewer women are doing property coverage? And
they might be doing it on the CSR level. They're probably not doing full agent level.
See, that's what I was just saying. Maybe they're making $55,000 because they're not working. They're doing everything but the binding signature.
Well, we've also run across licensed CSRs that are getting paid hourly rates versus commissionary.
True, which is when one of the things that might be driving that is the desire for a consistent income.
Possible.
Because I know that was one of the things that was always, especially if it's a single mom, you need something consistent.
You got to have those funds coming in.
Yeah, and you got to know where they're coming and when they're coming.
Because you've got hungry babies to feed. Yeah, that is one of those conditions. It's like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna take this hourly rate and work there for years. But yeah, I've seen some that's it's just like, it's kind of sad.
Yeah.
It's why I'm glad that they're our state, and it looks like on the national press now, to get rid of the non-compete clauses.
Yes, because that's just dirty pool.
Well, it's.
I get the theory behind it, but it's been abused.
Yeah, the good example was there were some local. Well, actually, it wasn't local. There were national sandwich shop chains that put non-compete clauses in contracts with their sandwich makers.
Yes, which means if you quit Joe's Sandwich Shack and you'd sign one of those competes, you can't go to work for Chad's Sandwich Shack unless it's like 50 miles out of the area.
It depends on what the clause is, but
it was the stupidest thing in existence.
Yeah, you're not dealing with intellectual property.
No,
you're not dealing with super trade secrets. They're not paying you to withhold that clause. Washington State really boosted it out of the water, and it was like over if you're not paying them like over $100,000, forget it. Yeah.
If you're just a workaday guy, a non-compete doesn't fly.
Yeah, it really doesn't these days. Look it up if your boss says, "Oh, I'm going to sue you because they're going to non-compete." It's like, yeah. And that's a really great example of lousy capitalism is this, you got to run it according to lawsuits.
Yeah.
If you got someone that's getting a lot of lawsuits, don't do business with them.
Fair enough.
That's a fair one. But yeah, we got asked a question this week. We're going through like surveys, and all three of us are like, "That's a lousy question to ask customers."
For us, yes,
it's an absolute horrible question, and it highlights some of the principles that we run our agency on, and that was to ask a customer, what is the most they will pay for your product?
That works great if you're selling waffle irons.
No.
No?
No.
You don't think so?
The reason why is because the thinking behind that is you are eliminating the cost of goods function in your product. And you are seeing on how much profit you can drive.
Well, isn't that kind of the whole point?
No, because that does not take into account your community.
True.
Unlimited profits like that is eliminating the community factor in your decision making. It's eliminating customers.
It's cherry picking.
It's for your if you've got hourly hourly employees,
Mm-hmm.
you are literally taking their profits and going, okay, here you go.
Yeah. Okay, here's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things about that particular survey question was, okay, what's the most you would pay for this particular product? That is not necessarily the price you're going to set your product at.
Yes, however, it's the thought process behind it.
Okay.
And it's
the get as much as you can.
Get as much as you can and get out.
Oh.
It's the thought process that is complete upside down from the Henry Ford model, which is produce a product that your employees can use.
Can afford.
It's complete, like I said, it's flipping that upside down and saying, okay, let's go for maximum profits.
So if you are making a waffle maker and you are charging $500 for this waffle maker and you're paying your employees who are building the waffle maker or selling the waffle maker $15 an hour, they can't afford the waffle maker they just built.
Yeah. You're stripping out the community out of your any sort of processes and decision making.
Interesting.
It's what has literally broke the healthcare system.
Yeah, I think you might have something. You might be onto something there.
Because it said, okay, what is the most we can charge, the patient? What is the most we can charge these insurance companies? And it's not recovering back those costs of good and plus, a little bit of salary. Mm-hmm. It's raking record profits.
Yes. It's all about the bottom line and satisfying the stockholders. And
yes, because the stockholders are the ones that have the profit sharing.
You know what broke? You know what broke it?
What?
The freaking stock market. I've said this before. I've been saying this for years. It's when the companies that are publicly held are chasing a greater bottom line every quarter. And if they don't hit that increase every 3 months, they lose. They get.
Well, it's not just increase every 3 months. It's increase at the forecasted rate.
Yeah. And if you under forecast, you get your numbers racked.
It's what drives the ridiculous CEO salaries.
Yeah. It drives all of the ridiculousness. It drives the lack of customer service available because the first place those people start cutting is payroll. Because for some reason, that's the easy place to cut. And they get and those dollar grubbers, they understand. They just don't care that because they're looking really short term. They're not looking long-term health of the company. They're looking what happens in the next 3 months. Then what happens in the next 3 months? They're not thinking about what happens in the next 3 years even.
Well, it's not only the time, it's the community.
Right. And that really, when you start doing stuff like that, it really strips away some of the community engagement.
And when you remove the community, it becomes easier as a corporation to outsource jobs.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you're okay, used to be, yeah, I love these.
Are you remember when?
Remember when? Okay, so there would be company picnics, and sometimes even the CEO would show up. Right? You'd have the upper management and the middle management and the salary workers and the hourly workers all hanging around having a company picnic. And maybe the CEO would meet the guy who puts the screws in the drawers. And maybe it would be harder for him to eliminate that job because he knows that Joe has 6 kids and 1 on the way.
Well, there's also there's a benefit, and one of the benefits that I've actually experienced was the president of that particular division would show up with the Christmas bonus and do the bonus checks and thank you for a good job. And it's like, here, we killed it last quarter. We hit our quotas. Here's your profit shares.
Or here's your Jelly of the Month club.
And well, yeah, we've moved to, that Jelly of the Month, or hey, congratulations, you keep your job, but we're going to rate record profit. But there's also a consumer responsibility.
Okay.
And the reason why I say there's a consumer responsibility is if you know that someone's doing business that way, why do you keep doing business that way?
Because you want their product.
But they've already established that their product is to produce maximum profits, not maximum community.
Yes. And if they're the only one that's producing the product that you want, what do you, or your need, heaven forbid, need, what do? You've had a heart attack. You need to go to the hospital. What are your options? You have to go. If you don't want to die, you go to the hospital, and you're feeding the fat cat insurance companies. You're feeding the fat cat hospitals. You're feeding the fat cat CEOs who run all that.
To be fair, the fat cat insurance companies, they've got profit restrictions.
Yes, their 80-20 rule. Okay, so back to the fat cat hospitals. I mean, the doctors aren't even doing what their doctors aren't even making what they used to because the corporate hospital owners are sucking it all up. Yeah.
However, we got to look as consumers on what is, hey, do you really need this sandwich that's being produced from this shop where the owner just, goes on African safari killing critters?
There you go. You got to shop with, you've got to stand your ground with your dollars when you can.
And that's a very important aspect. Are you supporting a corporate storefront or are you supporting a ma and pa storefront?
Or ma and ma or pa and pa, yeah.
Yeah, and that is a real significant change in business. It's like, okay, do I need this, as fast and cheap as possible, or do I put some investment in my community?
Exactly. And you'll find that if you invest in the community and go that, you're probably going to find a higher quality product, which lasts longer. It's the whole shoe thing. You buy a cheap pair of shoes that lasts you 6 months, or you buy a more expensive pair of shoes that lasts you 10 years. And guess how much money you actually spend? Less overall.
Yeah.
It does lead back to the fact that unless the corporation structure and the corporation ideation of profits and the gotta meet that bottom line changes, it's going to be a tremendous struggle. And I don't foresee that changing anytime soon, because the people who are kind of in charge of that are the ones raking in the bucks, and they've got this obsession with dollars, not community.
Well,
and the ones that do have some sense of community are taking it to other countries and to make themselves look good and make sure everyone's immunized, which I'm not hating, but okay, let's support all the communities, not just the ones that look good.
Well, here's the thing, Mrs. Business Owner. How do you conduct yourself?
In what sense?
How do you conduct yourself? Do you operate in a community-minded manner?
I try to. I don't always succeed, but I do try.
Well, that is where it starts.
Mm-hmm.
You start with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You can't say, "Oh, it's never going to change," so throw your hands up.
I'm not saying throw my hands up. I'm saying was it act locally, think globally. And it's not a bad thing. If I do my part, you do your part, and Dooley Dogs does their part, and Marine, Gelco does his part, and Lupine Family Medicine does their part. Great, love it. Let's do that. It strengthens the community of Central Washington, which is great.
Yeah.
How do we get that wave going to hit those who are driving the big bucks?
I really don't care who drives the big bucks. And the reason why I don't care is I would rather see 100 small businesses versus the one large one.
Okay. It supports that. I mean, it's 100 small businesses puts 500 people into work. One large business, and usually the 500 people are working towards a common goal and hopefully better than average wages. You've got 100 massive businesses that are stripping the soul out of their employees.
Well, yeah, because they don't have that community factor. If they've got, corporate ownership, it's usually elsewhere.
Yeah.
So any profits are getting stripped out of the community, and probably
possibly sent overseas.
You're taking that large corporation and run it. Instead of 100, you're more likely at 75. So you got 25 people drawn on unemployment locally. So you're further stripping the community.
Yeah.
So that's why I support the small businesses and always work to empower them. It's why we sat there and it's like, okay, how do we support LGBTQ businesses in our area? And it's like, okay, we're going to start out first with a kind of fierce explosion with headshots and some networking and build some of those community connections.
Yep.
And that's where you start things. It's like, okay, let's do this and do the connections. And, hey, if someone needs to do events, we've got an event planner. Hey, someone needs catering.
We got caterers.
Hey, people are going to want to, know that you can look well dressed up, which means I got to go shave my beard.
Good trim it, don't shave it.
Yeah, so it's...
Yeah, ooey.
So, yeah.
Good thing I got my hair cut a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, you are actually ahead of the curve.
That's because I'm awesome that way.
And I'm saying morning, Chris.
Morning, Chris.
But yeah, that is the crux of it. You've got to start supporting community. You can't while it's fun and nice to go off to Walmart and look at their stripped down supply chains, the money doesn't stay in the town.
Oh no. Only in the most cursory sense in that they're paying their employees. And sometimes they don't even pay their employees enough they're not paying living wages. Their version of it, and this is, I don't know if this has changed. I hope it has, but their version of health insurance is here's how you apply for Medicaid.
Yeah. So you've got to look at those dollars. It's like, where are you shopping? It's why the Kroger Safeway Albertsons merger thing is just a horrible idea.
It's terrifying. It wasn't a good idea when Safeway Albertsons did that. Well, back in the day, Safeway got bought by a holding company.
Yeah.
And their goal... Cerberus, right. And they also owned Albertsons. And their goal, ultimately, was to strip every feasible penny out of it and then sell it, which is exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, do a Wall Street.
Yeah, exactly. And that's not good for the community. and then squishing this all together into one great big monolithic corporate grocery structure under the Kroger name is terrible for competition. Because here in Wenatchee, we have Safeway, Albertsons, and Fred Meyer. And then we've got Winco and we've got Costco and Grocery Outlet. That's it for groceries. That means the major standard retail is going to be owned by one company. You don't think they're going to price fix? They're going to price fix.
Well, they're already price fixing.
They're already price fixing. It's just going to get worse.
And that's the big thing that the last year has taught us is that corporate drive for maximum profits, stripping out the local community of any sort of wealth.
Yep.
Or wealth building. Exactly.
Because they're not going to be paying. They're not going to be supporting with any in very little ways. They're not going to. They're not going to put back into the community. They're not going to support the Apple Blossom Parade, or sponsor the Apple Blossom Parade, or the it won't be the Fred Meyer Classy Chassis Parade, that kind of, and that's just that. Even that's blind communities.
No, and the reason why I say no is because we were working with the Healthplanfinder, and sponsoring community events.
Yes.
And a good example was we said, hey, go to Cafe. They're good people.
Yeah.
And there was a dog pile, a virtual dog pile of different corporations just dump money into them. Yeah.
Into the Healthplanfinder?
No.
Into Cafe.
Into Cafe.
Oh, that's good.
It is. But you need to spread the money around. While they're doing good things, there's probably another 20 or 30 different groups that are doing good things as well.
They just Cafe got into the radar.
It would become popularized. And eventually it's like, okay, awesome. It's like, where do they go? But yeah, it was literally, it was like all the carriers, the local hospital systems, and about half a dozen others that were dumping money into them.
Because we dropped their name?
No.
Other things.
No, it's just, they've got a good system of extracting grants.
Yeah, they do.
And yes, they do good things. It was one of the things we've gone back and forth and we shared things, but it was like, yeah, there are other things that could use help. And that's a really good example of, because they're it's popular, it comes up on the radar of these large corporations.
Yeah, and then large corporations say, see, we're doing something good for the locals, when they're not actually doing anything but throwing money at them. That's not building community. It's just throwing money.
Well, it also creates a very vulnerable system.
Yeah, because we're going to strip the money away, and then
we didn't have good
our quarter
profits,
didn't do so good, so
we're not going to give you.
We're not going to support you this year.
And that's you're forever under the thumb.
Yeah.
Of these large corporations,
and you have to be cognizant of what you do, whether or not it's going to tick off the large corporation.
Well, yeah, I pointed that out with how certain things operate. I'm not going to say it online because I've gotten in trouble in the past for explaining on how the health system works.
Yeah, we don't want to do that just yet.
So
if you want to know, come to the office.
Yeah, you come to the office, Matt will talk, because I know all the skeletons. But that there's some really areas that can improve on the local level. It's like, it's why I go to my guy Uli, Uli the Great, and his wonderful shop versus going to a Supercuts.
Right.
Because I know the Supercuts is going to, drain, it's like, I could get a cheaper haircut, but even if I tip well, there's less money in the community.
Yeah.
So there's a big divide there. When we get meat, we have a tendency to go to a local rancher,
right?
Because we have enough money that we're able to pool together and say, hey, let's get meat. We go to a local rancher. So there are ways to do those purchases to acknowledge the small shops. And one of the weird trends that we notice in the insurance world is we did a quick survey, and a majority of the people only wanted to talk to their insurance people at renewal time.
Yes, because they don't know their insurance people on a personal basis.
Yep, and they don't want to have the conversations on how coverage is because they might. This is actually one of the they don't want to have the conversation because they don't want to be upsold or talked down to.
Ooh, that's a good thing for us. That's a good thing that we don't do that.
And the important thing is you need experts.
Yeah.
And that's part of the stripping out of community is you strip out your experts. You don't have teachers that teach history. You don't have insurance agents that do insurance agent things. They just sell that baseline premium.
They're not selling for the client. They're selling to the client.
You have butchers that sell cryo packs of prepackaged meat versus cutting it up there at the shop. You don't have local groceries working with farmers to bring in the groceries. You have it shipped in from large farms out of state.
Things to consider.
You have more storefronts open because the businesses have shut down in downtown.
There you go.
So there are ways to do capitalism that are healthy and alive, and it involves having that community filter on when you do things. That filter of, okay, how does this affect me, 5 years from now? Is this person selling me this item now, in the moment, or are they looking for my continued support for the next 50 years?
There you go. That's the client we want. All right, good place to stop.
So, hey, have a great day. Enjoy it. Spring is sprung. We are off. We're here at Suzie. We try to be here every Thursday. You can look at past episodes, and we are going to go off and work on our Supernova Business Expansion Contest.
Expansion.
And everyone have a great week.
Yeah, talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.